It is impossible to separate the Hunter Biden criminal case in today's plea deal from the politics of Donald Trump and his criminal case. There's so much to talk about here, but one big difference is that President Biden is willing to address the news that Hunter Biden got a plea deal. Today, he talked about his son after Hunter Biden agreed to the plea deal to plead guilty on failure to pay income tax, and then a separate deal with prosecutors about lying on firearms background check forms about his drug use.
I'm very proud of my son.
All right, there you go. Of course, Republicans say he should be proud, he should be happy because Hunter got such a sweetheart deal because of his father, including no jail time. Scott Bolden's here, former chair of the D.C. Democratic Party, and for purposes of this interview, famed criminal defense attorney. Look.
How do I get that long term?
Famed, no problem. Whatever you want. You tell me, put it in the prompter, I'll read it. Okay. There's more truth to that than I'd like to admit. Okay, here's the problem. Here's the question. How is it that in any way you tell me that Hunter Biden's criminal defense attorneys right now aren't down at Capitol Grill or Smith & Wolenski's or somewhere else having a big stake in cheersing how well they did?
Well, they're not there because the federal judge has to sign off on this deal. Okay. Secondly,
they're going to sign off.
There are a lot of, not necessarily, there are a lot of negotiations that go on between defense counsel and prosecutors, federal or state prosecutors. Donald Trump is free to engage in settlement discussions right now. He probably isn't because politically he's telling his story, which is against his interests. And Hunter Biden did engage in plea negotiations. In this case, 5 years of the big stuff, they never came up with anything, and now they've pled out.
What do you make of that at the bottom of the statement from the Trump-appointed United States Attorney in Delaware, it says the investigation continues?
Yeah, that's interesting because that was more political than practical. No criminal defense lawyer, not Biden's criminal defense lawyers, would plead out on these smaller charges, misdemeanors, where you can get no more than a year in jail and they're giving him probation if there was a broader, bigger investigation. Think about it. There wouldn't be any motivation to plead out now. You'd want to do it all in one swoop. And so I think the broader investigation about Ukraine and the payoffs, alleged payoffs, just isn't real anymore.
Well, and that's what Republicans are saying, right, is that somehow that there was pressure put on this U.S. attorney not to charge on the larger issues.
A Trump-appointed U.S. attorney.
That's the accusation.
Had pressure put on them.
Okay,
that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, there you go. But this is what I wanted to think about, is just in terms of the fairness, right? Because that's what we deal with. Similar crimes, similar charges, similar sentences. Hunter Biden owed 2 misdemeanor tax charges, failure to pay in 2017, 2018. He didn't file his tax returns on taxable income of more than $1.5 million, for which he owed more than $100,000 in income tax. Okay, he gets probation. Wesley Snipes, convicted of 3 misdemeanor counts of filing tax returns, avoiding $7 million in taxes, 3 years in prison. Darryl Strawberry, only $500,000 of failing to report in earned income, ordered to repay back taxes, 6 months of home confinement. Jersey Shore star Michael, the Situation Sorrentino, falsified tax returns of $9 million, 8 months in federal prison. Lauryn Hill, sentenced today to 3 months in prison, 3 months home confinement for not reporting $2.3 million in income by failing to file tax returns. Hunter Biden did things that are very similar to all of these. Yeah. How is probation not a sweetheart deal?
Big difference in all those cases, and I know about some of those cases. Big difference is here there was a plea deal, and $100,000 is a drop in the bucket when you've generated $1.5 million. He paid something, and he's paid off those taxes in the interim before he pled. Now, take a look at some of those other cases. They litigated those cases. They were facing tax felonies, especially Wesley Snipes, for example. When you go to court and you don't plead guilty and you're convicted of tax felonies, and DOJ has to sign off on the prosecution of all of these cases, that's the big difference.
All right, federal firearms charges. Plea deals, 97.4% of cases. Prison, 91.8%.
Yeah.
Prison and alternatives, 2.4%. Probation, only 4.4%. Probation and alternatives, 1.4%. In other words, Hunter Biden is in the 1%.
Yeah, but he's in the 1% because the other cases that make up those percentages are gun charges. Here, he was accused of lying on an application to get a gun charge, right, to purchase a weapon. Only 3% of all of those statistics where you have a conviction for this type of charge or plea for this type of charge makes up only 3% vis-a-vis gun applications as opposed to use of the weapon or illegally purchasing the weapon. It's a big difference.
All right, fair enough on all points.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.